The aroma of barbecued meat lingered in the air when my son let out a piercing scream. Not a cry, but a scream. The type that sends a mother's blood running cold before her brain can even process what is happening. My name is Clara Whitmore. I am 32 years old, a single parent, and up until that afternoon, I still held onto the belief that family meant safety. My 7-year-old son, Noah, had been running after bubbles in my father's backyard, while the adults chuckled around the grill. Then my nephew, Tyler, came dashing too quickly from the patio, collided directly with Noah and stumbled over his own legs. Noah tumbled backward onto the lawn. Tyler only got a small scrape on his knee. But before I could get to my son, my sister yelled, "Look at what Noah has done." My father turned away from the grill, his face flushed with rage and alcohol. "That child requires proper discipline. Dad, stop." He didn't do anything. He refused to listen. He seized the glowing hot barbecue tongs from the flames and pressed them against Noah's little hand. My son screamed so intensely that the birds flew from the branches. And then from the road, sirens began approaching. The sirens grew louder with each passing second. For one unbelievable instant, everyone stood still. My father moved away from Noah as though he had done nothing at all. My sister hurried to Tyler, making a big show of examining his knee while totally overlooking the blister already forming on my son's small hand. I fell to my knees next to Noah. "Sweetheart, look at me," I murmured, battling back tears. "Stay with Mommy." His face had gone pale. His whole body trembled. "Mom," he sobbed. "It hurts so much." My stomach clenched. The ambulance arrived in front of the house. Apparently, one of the neighbors had heard Noah's scream and dialed emergency services. 2 paramedics rushed through the gate. "What happened here?" one inquired. Before I could respond, my father spoke up. "Just a little mishap. Children playing around. Everything is okay. Okay." The word nearly made me gag. I lifted Noah's shaking hand. The paramedic's face shifted right away. "That is not a small injury." Quiet fell over the backyard. For years, my family had treated me as if I were invisible. My father adored my older sister, Vanessa. She could never make a mistake. Her son Tyler could smash windows, take toys, and harass other kids, yet somehow Noah was always held responsible. But this occasion felt different, because the paramedic had discreetly taken out a phone and begun recording the scene. The instant the paramedic started snapping pictures, my father's assurance began to crumble. "Why are you taking photos of my yard?" he demanded. The paramedic did not even glance up. "I am recording a child's injury." The backyard became completely quiet. My sister folded her arms. "You're behaving as if Dad harmed him." I gazed at her in shock. "Harmed him?" I retorted. "He burned a 7-year-old boy's hand with scorching tongs." Vanessa rolled her eyes. "Oh, come on, you're always exaggerating." Noah flinched beside me as another surge of pain struck. The paramedics bandaged his hand and got him ready for transport. One of them kindly asked Noah to describe what occurred. I thought he might stay silent. Instead, he looked directly at the medic. "Grandpa did it." My father's face went pale. "That's not how it happened," he shouted. "It is," Noah said softly. The medic shared a look with his colleague. Something had shifted. For the first time in my life, people from outside were seeing what went on inside our family. Years of favoritism, years of justifications. Years of my father choosing who merited safety and who deserved punishment. As the ambulance doors shut, I glanced back at the house. Several neighbors had assembled by the fence, and one was holding up a phone, filming the entire scene. The emergency room was packed, brightly lit, and uncomfortably chilly. Noah sat next to me, his hurt hand covered in thick white bandages as doctors cared for the burn. Then my phone began to buzz, again, and again, and again. At first I paid no attention. Then I checked, dozens of texts, hundreds of alerts. My stomach sank. The neighbor's video had already circulated on local social media. The clip displayed Noah weeping on the ground. My father grabbing the burning barbecue tongs, my frantic shout, and Noah's scream. The comments were harsh. "That's child abuse. Who would do that to a young boy? Someone notify the police." The video was spreading quicker than anyone could prevent it. Then my sister phoned. I picked up. "Clara, remove that video immediately." "Me?" I chuckled bitterly. I did not record it. "You're damaging Dad's image." I stared out the hospital window. "My son is sitting in a burn unit." For several seconds she stayed quiet. Then she murmured something that finally broke whatever was left of our bond. Tyler was crying too, you know. I hung up. 5 minutes later, a police officer walked into Noah's room holding a tablet. And the first thing he said made my heart skip a beat. "Mrs. Whitmore, we would like to talk about your father's arrest." For a second, I felt something dangerously near to satisfaction. Then guilt set in. Not because my father was under investigation, because part of me still wished he could be the father I had spent my whole life longing for. The officer described how the video, Noah's account, the medical records, and several witnesses had prompted an urgent probe. I nodded silently. Noah deserved safety, not justifications. That night after Noah finally drifted off to sleep in the hospital bed, I sat by myself near the window. My phone kept vibrating nonstop. Family members, cousins, aunts, uncles. Every message shared the same message. You're tearing the family apart. Not one inquired about how Noah was recovering. Not one. That was the moment something inside me grew steady. Cold, clear. For years, my father had managed the family through finances. He covered mortgages, supported businesses, settled debts, and everyone shielded him because they relied on him, including Vanessa. Especially Vanessa. Then I recalled something. 3 years earlier, my father had persuaded me to assist with managing records for several family investments. I still possessed copies of contracts, transfers, emails, and financial papers. Back then, I never thought I would require them. Now I opened my laptop. And within 10 minutes, I uncovered a hidden truth that made my blood turn icy. A very costly hidden truth. The hidden truth was concealed openly. For years, my father had been shifting funds between family businesses and personal accounts. Most of it was not unlawful, but some of it definitely was not legitimate. The further I searched, the more serious it grew. There were unrecorded loans, suspicious movements, tax submissions that did not align with internal files, and one name showed up constantly: Vanessa. My sister had signed papers she obviously never examined. She trusted Dad entirely, the same way everyone else did. I dedicated the next 2 days to organizing everything, not changing, not inventing. Just sorting the facts, every paper, every signature, every movement. Then I provided copies to the lawyer managing my father's criminal matter, and another set to a forensic accountant who had reached out after viewing the viral clip. The consequences began almost right away. 3 days later, my father phoned from home. His voice sounded altered. "Smaller, you caused this." "No," I answered evenly, "you caused this. You turned everyone against me." I looked at Noah quietly coloring next to me. "No, Dad, the truth caused this." He ended the call. That evening, investigators visited 2 family businesses. By morning, bank accounts were locked pending examination. And for the first time in her life, Vanessa understood that blindly defending our father might make her lose everything. Then she appeared at my front door. I opened the door and hardly recognized her. Vanessa appeared drained. Her makeup had vanished. Her eyes were puffy from weeping. For once, she was not furious. She was frightened. "Clara," she murmured, "please help me." I crossed my arms. The irony was nearly overwhelming. When Noah was screaming in agony, she had fretted about Tyler's minor scrape. Now she sought leniency. "What do you need?" She entered the house. "The investigators questioned me for 4 hours. I said nothing. They believe I knew about the movements. Did you?" "No." For the first time, I believed her. Vanessa had many shortcomings, but being smart enough to manage financial schemes was not one of them. Tears welled in her eyes. Dad used me. The words lingered heavily between us because they were accurate. My father had spent decades pitting us against each other while portraying himself as the protector. Now the facade was crumbling bit by bit. Vanessa dropped into a seat. I should have safeguarded Noah. I looked aside. Hearing those words months earlier would have meant the world. Now they seemed painfully delayed. The next morning, investigators carried out more warrants, and by afternoon, my father was officially charged. But that was not what stunned the family the most. The true shock came when my grandmother's lawyer disclosed a paper nobody knew about. The entire family assembled in the office 3 weeks later. My father sat quietly beside his lawyer. Vanessa gazed at the floor. Nobody appeared assured anymore. Then the lawyer opened a sealed packet. My client directed that this be disclosed only if serious harm ever occurred to one of her great-grandchildren. The room became hushed. My grandmother had passed 7 years ago. The lawyer opened a document. It was not a will. It was a trust modification. Years earlier, Grandma had quietly moved a large part of her estate into a safeguarded family trust. But there was a requirement. Anyone found guilty of harming a child would be permanently excluded as a beneficiary. My father's face drained of all color. The lawyer went on. As a result of the current criminal conclusions, Mr. Whitmore is disqualified. Millions disappeared from his future in one statement. Nobody uttered a word. Nobody stood up for him. For the first time, accountability had finally reached him. Later that evening, Noah and I sat on our porch observing the sunset. His injured hand was mending. Gradually. "Mom," he inquired gently. "Are we fine now?" I smiled and kissed his forehead. "Yes, darling, because revenge was not what rescued us. The truth did." And once the truth was finally acknowledged, the people who inflicted the hurt had nowhere left to conceal themselves.